Okay guys, today I'm going to talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, the sport of IGP, and it's dying. I'm going to tell you why it's dying. It's not dying because it isn't an awesome sport. It's not dying because, it isn't something that a lot of working dog enthusiasts wouldn't enjoy pursuing with their dogs. It's dying because it's being mismanaged. So today, I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers. I'm probably going to make some people upset. And I might even get kicked out of the sport of IGP, which I'm quite comfortable with because ultimately, if you love something, you're willing to fight for it. So I'm going to talk about IGP. I'm going to talk about where I think the sport is failing. Now, in my opinion, this sport will not exist in the next 10 years unless significant changes are made. Just to be clear about what IGP is, I'm not going to get into all the nuts and bolts of it. We don't have time now. You can look into that more on your own if you don't know what it is. IGP, formerly known as Schutzhund, is a sport originally designed for German Shepherds, but now a lot of working breeds are training in this sport. It combines tracking, obedience, and protection. 3 different phases, each phase judged out of 100 points, and there are multiple titles that can be obtained within the sport. And at the highest level, it is competitive at the IGP 3 level, where multiple competitors will bring their title dogs together and they will compete across obedience, tracking, and protection. And the dogs with the highest scores are the ones that win. So it's a fantastic sport. In my opinion, it is the most difficult sport to train for, and it is the most, of course, rewarding sport to train for because all the work that you put in gets to manifest itself on the field, and you get to show your dog, if you've trained properly, to his or her potential. The fantastic thing about this sport is it's not just about if the dog can do it, it's about how well the dog can do it. It's about showcasing your dog's power, showcasing your dog's intensity, and showcasing the precision of your training, which I truly love about this sport. Here's the thing, IGP was originally developed in Germany, and the governing body for the sport, the SV, still exists in Germany today. Because of that, the sport is dying. Now, there's also the FCI, which also governs the sport. The FCI is located also in Western Europe. I'm actually not quite sure where their head office is, but fundamentally, what you need to know is the top governing bodies for this sport are in Western Europe. And the reason why it's going to die is because Western Europe is under the steel-shod boot of the animal rights extremists. The animal rights extremists have control of the media, they have control of the message, and they have control of many politicians. And because of that, they have been able to progressively pass legislation that is legislating the training first for this type of sport and for the type of dogs that excel in this sport out of existence, and also ultimately to legislate the sport out of existence. In fact, there's been several attempts already to remove IGP and make it illegal. They're attempting to do so right now in Australia. They might be successful. They attempted to do so in Austria. And there's been regular attempts by the animal rights extremists and the propaganda that they produce, which is extremely powerful, right, to remove dog sports and bite sports in general, to portray dogs that engage in these types of sports as dangerous to society, to portray training that is necessary for these types of dogs as being abusive and horrible and wrong, so on and so forth. To be quite honest, the first problem that exists in the sport is the people at the head of the sport, the leadership of the sport. I think they have a lot of very outdated ideas about how to deal with media and message. A lot of them, it seems, have the idea that if we bury our heads in the sand, if we hide what we do, if we hide the kind of dogs that we train and the kind of training that is successful in this sport and why we do what we do, they will leave us alone. Well, it turns out that appeasement doesn't work, right? And we should have learned this already. Appeasement does not work, especially when you're trying to appease extremists and terrorists, which is fundamentally what these animal rights people are. They are not normal people. They are not logical people. But what they have done is they've taken the moral high ground and they have positioned themselves as the virtuous ones, the ones that are looking out for the dogs. And they've positioned people like you, people like me, people that train in the sport and people that love the sport as being the abusers, as being backward, as being unable to train. When in reality, the people that are at the top level of this sport are the best dog trainers in the world. Again, it is the most complicated dog sport there is because it requires you to be proficient across 3 phases. And I stand by that. There is no other dog sport that has that level of complexity and that requires the level of talent that being successful at the top levels of IGP require. The animal rights extremists have positioned people that train in the sport of IGP as being backwards, as being barbaric, as being abusive. They've positioned the dogs that compete in IGP as being dangerous. The reality is, Pet dogs bite far more people than working dogs ever will bite. Pet dogs that are out of control, that are poorly bred, and that are even more poorly trained represent much more of a danger to society than any level of sport dog or working dog ever will. IGP existed originally as a breed test, as a way to showcase the working German Shepherd. Now, the sport has grown to encompass Belgian Malinois, Rottweilers, Dobermans, and other working breeds. It is a fantastic way to showcase the working potential of these breeds, breeds that were designed for guardian work, that were designed for police work, for search and rescue work, for military work. Here's the thing. The people that run this sport have lost control of the media, and they've lost control of the message. Social media is the new way. And instead of showcasing, they are still trying to hide. They haven't learned in the last 20 years that hiding doesn't work. I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you don't tell your story, someone else will. And the story they're telling right now about us is not a good story. You need to take control. You need to start promoting the sport. You need to start explaining the benefits the sport brings to society. It's not just an entertaining game for some dog trainers to play in. It's not just a way to expend a dog's energy. The reality is IGP and dog sports like it are providing essential bloodstock, essential breeding dogs that are producing the vast majority of police, military, and search and rescue dogs in the world today. These dogs would simply not exist. They wouldn't be available in the profusion that they're available right now if these sports didn't exist. The competitive framework of dog sport incentivizes breeders to breed dogs that have the quality to be successful in these competitive sports. And currently, the way the sports are laid out, you need dogs that can track. You need dogs that can work with a handler well. You need dogs that can do protection work, that have the courage, the hardness, and the intensity to do protection work. And when you have these things together, you have dogs that are producing puppies that are capable to go on to real working roles. Not just sport roles, not just recreational roles, but real working roles that benefit society every day, that save lives every day. Now, this shouldn't be so hard for the people at the helm of IGP to promote and the people at the helm of other bite sports to promote, but for some reason, they don't want to admit that. They want to pretend like these dogs are just like pet dogs. They're just like your golden retriever. No, they're not. And it's fine. Your golden retriever is not going to be able to go be on a special forces team, find bombs, and apprehend terrorists, right? And that's completely fine. Different dogs for different jobs. These dogs perform real world functions all around the world. And the blood stock for these dogs all come from dog sport. Instead of promoting this, we're hiding this. The quality that IGP promotes in the dogs at the highest level is very conducive to producing strong working dogs. There is a reason we train the way that we train. There is a reason we select the dogs that we select. It's not because they're dangerous, and it's not because we're barbaric. It's because the people that compete in IGP at the highest level are fantastic dog trainers, many of them already working in police and military applications. They are at the forefront of dog training. In fact, the techniques that have been pioneered in bite sports like IGP are now being used all around the world in real working applications, because it turns out that competition is a fantastic breeding ground for progression. We should know this, whether it's from auto racing, from trying to get to the moon, all the various competitive pursuits that humanity engages in is a breeding ground for progress. And dog sport is no different. But instead of promoting this, we're hiding, we're pretending. Here's the thing. The animal rights extremists, as I already said, control the media. But social media is available to everyone. Stop hiding, stop lying, stop pretending. Be honest. Anyone who is in the top level of IGP, top 50, top 100 people, they all use pressure, because pressure is a necessary component to success in the training. It is, of course, it's not the only training. If you watch these dogs at the highest level, they are exhibiting joy, they are exhibiting power, but they're also exhibiting reliability and precision. This comes from an element of pressure in the training, which is necessary. I would also argue that it's necessary that the dog be able to handle adversity in the training, because it's not just about winning in dog sport. It is about showcasing dogs that are of exceptional genetic quality, dogs that are suitable for breeding, dogs that can contribute to bloodlines for many generations down the road. You don't think a search and rescue dog needs to be able to handle adversity? You don't think a special forces dog or a police dog should be able to handle pressure? Instead of hiding the pressure, or instead of removing the pressure from different exercises because we don't want to look scary or mean, we should be explaining to people why this pressure is necessary as part of the selection process for having dogs of exceptional breeding quality. But we're not doing that. We're hiding, we're pretending, we're removing. So fundamentally, guys, I know I've said a lot of different things, but it is not hard to promote the sport. I'm going to start talking about some positive things now. Okay, I think the leadership either needs to change or they need to adopt a new way of looking at how they promote the sport, how they protect the sport, and how they grow the sport. Guys that have some social media presence like me, for instance. I'm not promoting myself. There's many other people that have a social media presence that are involved in dog sport. On my platform, I try to be as honest as possible. I try to show as much training as possible, and I try to explain as much as possible. And for that reason, I have a lot of support. A lot of people that are interested in how my dogs do in competition. A lot of people that all of a sudden are interested in a dog sport that they never heard of. How hard would it be for the people at the various heads of the international and national breed organizations to do the same thing? To start showing trial footage, to start showing training, to start doing cameos of the dogs and of the dog sport competitors that are coming on the field and showcasing their dogs and their training. It wouldn't be hard. I'm going to give you an example, okay? And I've used this before, I'm going to say it again. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson are boxing. Why are people interested? Do you think a boxing fight between a YouTuber, who's admittedly probably a decent boxer, and a 60-year-old man is something that most people would be particularly interested in? Of course not. But they're interested because they know the two individuals, because they've been open about their lives on social media. They've been open about their challenges. They've been open about, the good things and the bad things on social media to some degree. People feel like they know these people, which is why they are incentivized to watch these people, which is why they want to know what happens. They're interested all of a sudden in the sport of boxing. All of a sudden, the sport of boxing in and of itself has resurged. It was dying, and now it's experiencing a resurgence because a lot of people in social media have gotten involved in boxing. Dog sport should be no different. Promote the dogs. Promote the people involved in the sport. Educate people on the sport. Don't hide anymore. Don't lie anymore. I know I see a lot of big European trainers, you're lying. You're on social media, you're doing interviews, and I understand why you're lying because there's laws and stuff that you could run afoul of, but by staying quiet or by lying, you continue to feed the machine that is ultimately destroying your sport and will destroy your sport. It's time to tell the truth. It's time to be honest about the dogs, and it's time to share with people what this sport is. And guess what? Not everybody will love it, but the sport and the dogs in the sport are not for everybody. But I guarantee you enough people will love it and enough people will appreciate it that the sport will be here for a long time to come, and you will get far more people involved in it, far more younger people involved in it, because it's a fantastic sport. And it's a very cool sport when it's trained properly and when you're using the right kind of dogs. Not the weak dogs, not the shy dogs, not the soft dogs. There's nothing wrong with those dogs. But when you're showcasing a dog that is full of power, when you're showcasing a dog that is full of presence, not your neighborhood golden doodle, which again, nothing wrong with those dogs, but that's not the dogs for this sport. When you're showcasing those dogs and they are expressing themselves but staying in control, it is a beautiful thing to see, and you will have no problem with people getting involved and watching and participating. So that's my little rant on IGP. I love the sport. I want to see the sport around forever, but it will not continue if we don't start taking control of the media, taking control of the message, promoting the sport properly, not in magazines. Listen, there's nothing wrong with a magazine, but come on, magazines? It's not the 1990s anymore. It's 2024. You need a social media presence. Just show your trial footage. Show your handlers. Show your dogs. Have little educational videos. It's not hard, guys. I will see you on the next one.